Hey, here we are. We made it. All kinds of technology going on around here. Hey, welcome to this week's Next Week's Life podcast. That's hard to say, actually. We got to change the name, I think. Anyway, welcome, Stephanie, and welcome, Carson. So, for everyone that's listening out there, the whole purpose for this particular podcast is to get to know these two people very, very well, learn a little bit about their backgrounds and a little bit about their businesses, and we're going to have a little bit of fun here today. So, Stephanie, hi, how are you?
Hi, Mike. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Thank
And
you for
for our guests, Stephanie is a world-class golfer, so I've come to understand that. So, welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
And
believe me,
world
it's a
class, I
pleasure.
don't know about that, but I like to have a good time and play golf for sure.
Well, those are two good things for us, especially on Thanksgiving week. So, Carson, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, Mike. Can't complain.
Awesome. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about your backgrounds and who you are and what you're doing. So you got Stephanie Keating Phillips, and we've come to know each other a little bit better through the last year or so. And I'm a big fan. So Stephanie, I have to admit I'm very biased, but welcome to the show. So I'd like to ask you a couple of quick questions, and then we'll kind of move to Carson, move around a little bit.
Sure.
So tell us what you do in your day job. What is it that you're responsible for, and we'll take it from there.
Well, sounds great. And feelings mutual, Mike. I appreciate being here and really love the friendship that we've grown the last year. So thank you so much. So my daily life kind of looks different every day. My role here at AIS is I'm the director of software and application solutions as well as production print. So I work with our software guys, our analysts, our production print reps, any accounts that we have. And then I also still carry a portfolio of my own clients. And then I also work with my dad on continuing to grow our dealership in different capacities, such as managed services and cameras and security and so on and so forth. So kind of different hats every day. It's pretty cool. I love to come to work because I'm not quite sure what my day is going to look like every day.
So different experiences and different growth opportunities for you every day. How long have you actually been there and working with your dad?
I have been here since the inception of Advanced Imaging Solutions. I graduated from college in 1998, and my dad opened the dealership a few months before I was done with school, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I actually started, and we were a three-person office, and I was answering phones, and nobody was calling, and so it was the most boring job ever. And I saw what my dad was doing, and I said, "Hey, I think I can do that. Can I follow you around?" And about 5 months later, I had my own territory, and this will be my 24th year selling office technology.
That's incredible. Good for you. That's a
Yeah,
fantastic
thank you.
experience. Right out of school.
Absolutely. Right out of school, I had no idea. And it's weird because I actually have two brothers that are in the business too, and I can't imagine doing anything different. I never would have assumed that I would be doing what my dad did my entire life as an adult, but I can't imagine not doing what we do every single day. So I'm very lucky. Had a great mentor to help me get to this point.
Yeah, well, we're going to come back to that a little bit. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your mentors and your dad, but that's a great experience. I mean, coming right out of school, you're right. I imagine in school, you probably never thought you were going to be working with your dad like this, right?
No. I went to school for communication, which I mean does carry through. And I was an athlete in college, and so I thought teaching and coaching was going to be like my next step. And so that was the luxury of working here is that I could leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and go still coach basketball. And so a lot of that stuff carries obviously into what we do every day, but absolutely no idea that sales or technology would be something that would be in my future.
Well, again, I'm going to circle back with this a little bit because I think some of the similar questions probably need to be answered by Carson. So, Carson, tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis. And like Stephanie, how did you get here? How did you get to this place?
Yeah, so I'll answer it, I guess, backwards. I filled the ad position of a temporary truck driver. When I got out of college, our truck driver had some medical issues and had to retire. So I said, oh yeah, I can fill in until I find what I really want to do in life. And prior to that, I had no idea what my dad really did, right? I mean, I knew he sold office equipment, but I didn't know what it was or even where it would go other than everybody needs a copier. And so as I got into the business, I learned some more. Right now, I am the product and solution specialist. So my day-to-day is kind of like Stephanie's in the way that no day's ever the same. New product acquisition, so software, kind of the detailed use of a copier just outside of the copy and print function. I learned all of that for the sales reps so that they didn't have to be bogged down with all of the details. If a customer wants to know, X, Y, and Z, they can go, oh, I got a guy that knows that. And they can kick it over to me and I can kind of assist with that. And then I said, oh, Aquas boards, displays, content management. We need to get into that. So Sam was like, all right, if you want to do it, go do it. It's all on you. So if you succeed or fail, no pressure, but you get all the credit either way.
Well, and by the way, how long have you been there? How long have you been with Stones?
Just over 4 years.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So I'm kind of curious about a couple of things with working for your dad. So I had my daughter working for me for about probably 18 years, 17 years. And to me, it was the greatest gift I could ever receive, right? To have the opportunity to work with my daughter. And I imagine, Stephanie, your dad must feel exactly the same way. But there are also, there are challenges, so you bring work home, you're never really away from work. So, because if you're with your dad, you're probably going to end up talking about something about work. So I'm wondering, through the 24 years, what's the greatest takeaway that you've had, working with your dad as a mentor, as a dad, and a friend?
Wow. I would say the greatest takeaway is work hard, be kind, and be humble. I mean, those are some things that were inherent in our everyday lives growing up, and then carry over obviously into our adult work life. I will say when we first started, we're humping, right, and we're trying to sell and get this thing going. And I remember a competitor saying like, "Oh, AIS won't be here 6 months from now," and oh well, we made it a year, and they won't be here next year, and so it was a lot of stress, a lot of hard work that was put into sweat equity for sure. So I think the thing that my dad and I had the opportunity to do was help build this business together, and we really learned how to figure out that and it's not, I hate the word work-life balance because that's not, I don't think that's a thing, but trying to figure out how we respect our family enough not to necessarily make the focus of our time away from the office talking about the office. And it took us a few years, and when my brothers joined, I think we kind of got to the point where we had a better thought process and wherewithal to go, okay, whoops, we're talking about work too much. Let's dial it back. Our spouses don't want to continue to hear this, So I would say just really focus when we're in the office, focus on what we're doing here at the office, and when we're out of the office, let's try and focus on whether it's watching a game or spending time with our family, whatever it is. Let's focus on that and really spend some good quality time doing that.
Awesome. And Carson, I know your dad, so I know it's kind of interesting to me to hear Stephanie talk a little bit about some of those things like humility and kindness, and that's also your dad. So what's your takeaway, and what would you like to share to people who listen about working with your dad or a dad?
Yeah. Growing up, we were always told, looking back, I'm like, wow, I should have listened earlier, but it's all in who you know and not what you know, right? Which I wrote off all through college because I'm like, that's not true. If you have a college degree and you're good at what you do, then that's what matters. But now I realize after watching him, for 4 years, that he might not be the most decorated guy with like degrees and all of that, but people come to him and listen to him and want his opinion, and it's because he's a smart man and he values all people. And that's something we've kind of really put into our culture here is that everybody matters. It doesn't matter if you're the president, the vice president, or the guy that cleans the office twice a week. Which, quick plug to our guy, Eddie. He is an amazing guy. He's been with us for, I think, almost 30 years. So he's really just a part of the family. Really cool guy. So people matter, and it's all in what you can offer. As long as you have something to offer to somebody, you'll always be useful in this industry.
And Stephanie, that sounds like your dad, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. We just had a company holiday dinner a couple of weeks ago, and Mike always makes it a point to go through the tenure of everybody at AIS. And I mean, there's employees that have been here. Well, the majority of our employees have been here 15 years plus, and I think that speaks to how our dad started this business, Carson. I'm sure you could agree, and the fact that they know that they can come to him and have conversation, and that life is going to come happen and get in the way, and there's going to be good times and bad times, and it's all in how I think the person that runs the business handles those things, and I think that step aside that he's my dad, I'd work for him anyway, and it just makes me more proud being his daughter, knowing that I've got this human who really does care. I mean, our motto is employees first, because if your employees are not happy, your customers aren't going to be happy. And I get it all the time. Like your people are so kind, and we all have our bad days, right? But I mean, your people are so kind and helpful, and you must have a really cool environment there. And I think the answer is yes. We try to make it just one big family, and it sounds kind of corny and cheesy when you say that, but I think you'd ask anybody at AIS and they'd say, like, I absolutely feel like one of the key things when I come to work.
Yeah, well, keep being cheesy and corny, because I think at the end of the day, that is probably the core competency for success. So if I can ask, I want to this is kind of a personal question. I'm curious about you as young people. Do you understand the important role you as young people play in an industry that is having a difficult time finding younger people, I think? So do you understand just how important it is for the industry that you're successful and you're guiding this industry past the generation that's currently doing it? So I'll go to Carson first. Do you really appreciate the sensitivity to that?
Most certainly, and I don't think I realized it. I wish I realized it when I first started, but it's become very apparent in the last 2 years. This industry has such a hard time of getting young talent and then keeping it. You can always find somebody, but the ability of the industry in a whole to keep really good people is hard. And some of that's just sales turnover and stuff like that, but I think part of it is the industry doesn't do a good job of kind of marketing itself to young people. If you say we sell office equipment, that doesn't sound exciting at all. But if you say, do you want to work in technology? Do you want, where do you see yourself in 5 years? How do you think technology can change your life? And start pitching what you do in a different way, I think the acquisition and retention of employees kind of goes to the roof, because you've piqued an interest and you've shown a future to the industry. If you tell somebody, go sell copiers, they're going to go, well, where is that in 5, 10, 15 years?
So, Stephanie, again, I'm curious. You as, you've got experience in this. Both of you have lived through COVID and supply chain issues and hiring challenges and all of that. Are you still inspired by this business? Do you feel, hey, I'm ready for and I'm going to guide what comes next?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you ever get to the point in anything that you do where it becomes work and monotonous and you're dreading getting up and doing it, time for a change, whether it's golfing or, a marriage or I don't know, whatever, So I think that keeping things moving. I really respect and appreciate the way that we do things, because it's a different approach now at AIS. Now that we've got some really senior people here, when my dad or Mike goes out and looks at futures, it's a group effort. It's not just him making this decision any longer. And I think that's really respectful, because he understands that we're here in the daily grind. And in order to continue to compete with, we're a mid-sized dealer, and we're competing against, in our market space, a lot of very large dealers. And so we have to do things differently. We have to do things potentially smarter. We have to have some different offerings. And, one quick story is prior to COVID, I'd say a couple of years before COVID, we were entertaining buying a IT company. And we'd go back and forth. And finally, one of our manufacturer partners, Konica Minolta, came to us and said, "Hey, we've got this group called All Covered. This is what they do. It's a really great opportunity to dive into IT." And my dad was kind of hemming and hawing, wasn't quite sure, and we did it. And we became a client first, and then we saw how we could make this work. And one of the best calls I've ever gotten from my dad was after about 3 months being home during COVID. Our numbers were off the chart for managed services, and he called me and said, "Thank you so much for pushing me. And this all covered thing was probably one of the best decisions we ever made. And let's continue making these decisions together." And I so appreciated that, because I knew it was out of his box. He's used to selling a copier, and so selling services was a whole different ballgame for him. So I think if your leader isn't willing to take a look at the future, then yeah, your job's going to get monotonous, but it's this industry is ever changing. And I think I'm very lucky that I have a leader that continues to look at how we can grow this business.
And how about, that's a great answer, by the way. I love that story.
Thank you.
Especially that your dad had the wisdom to call and say, "Thank you for pushing me."
I totally appreciated that. Yes.
Yeah.
As the owner's kids, you don't always get that. I think, Carson, you probably can attest, and Mike, you probably know with Jenna, right? That there's times that you go, "Hey, what about me?" Or, or other employees or your competitors will say, "Well, it's the owner's daughter," or whatever. And man, there's a lot of times I want to say, "Oh, really? Do you get a call at 10:30 at night to talk about forecast?" Because I do,
Boy, you hit that one right on the head. Jenna would say the exact same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Because a lot of people will say things like that. "Oh, it's the son of or daughter of," and they just don't quite get that part.
I don't see my competitor helping me shovel snow out of the parking lot before our employees get in. So
Yeah,
Right.
there you go.
It's like, where were you then?
Yes.
So how about your perspective, Carson? Obviously, Stephanie and her team made a pretty bold decision to pick up All Covered and get into IT services or M&S. What's your status with all of that? Where are you, and does it sound like something you want to do or have done?
Yeah, so we have tossed around the M&S and IT company, and the whole idea seems great, right? But then when you talk to people, they go, "Oh, the return, it takes 2, 4, 6, 8 years. It depends on the market." And we go, Richmond's such a great market for IT companies, and we've got 2 really great partners we work with. So we said, "Look, we get leads from you all. We share leads. We're not going to upset that apple cart, because it works out great for both of us." So Sam actually met with a gentleman who was in the industry a long time ago, I think with Rico, about purified water solutions and drinking water. And so he said, "Hey, look, this might be the way that we're going. What do you think?" And kind of said, we were bouncing ideas off each other. One of those where the work follows you home, Stephanie. It literally just never goes away, because you're sitting there in the living room and you go, "Well, what about this?" Or "What about this?" And so we launched that in May. Our water division, it's called Pure Water Virginia, and it has got to be one of the best things we've done, especially to reboot since COVID, because people are back. I don't know about where you guys are, but definitely in Virginia, people are back. They're in the office. They're working. And it's a really easy conversation when you've got a captive audience to go, "We know you drink water. Where are you getting it from? And is it clean?" Because the water itself might be clean, but those lead pipes it's running through, were installed 100 years ago. So that's where we pivoted, a little different than some dealers.
So I think you and Stephanie might want to have a conversation about MNS. And it's that you two just described the status of the business. I mean, you really did. There's a camp that says, all right, I got to be in this because 5 years from now, Stephanie, what do you think the business is going to look like?
Well, I think you have to be diverse, right? I sometimes worry about some of the dealers that get to be like jack of all trades, master of none, because I think it's easier for people to sneak in and find faults within their organization to boot them out. I think get really good at something. Like for us, we really put a lot of time and effort into production and industrial print, and so my future, like the next 5 years for that side of our business, I'm super excited. I mean, there is so much growth and so much opportunity, and technology is going to change. And I think that side of our business is just going to continue to grow. Maybe office space might change, but I don't think it's going to be to the point where some of these people are like doom and gloom. Like there's going to be no offices, and I find that. My friends and their kids and the people that are actually out working, more and more people are working differently, but they are coming back to the office. So it may be a different look and a different feel, and we may not be placing 5 MFPs and 10 printers, but there's still going to be a need to get information in and out. And I think that people are getting to the point where like, yep, these Teams meetings and that type of stuff is all great and it worked for 2 years, but man, let's meet face to face and let's go through some charts and let's, look at this stuff that we've got on paper. And the diversification of managed services and security and cameras and doing those things, but making sure you do them really, really well. And that's awesome, Carson, that you guys found the water, because, just because other people are doing managed services, if that's not your thing and you've got great partners, continue doing it, but I think it's awesome to think that you looked at, okay, how else can we get people excited to sell stuff? And it's just one more way to wiggle yourself into a new partner, right? So I'm excited. Hey, I plan on retiring in this business, and if I didn't think that the next 5 years, would continue to grow this company, and I like to make money, so grow my pocketbook, I probably would check out. But I'm super excited.
You are awesome. I love to hear that because, Stephanie, you're right. There are people out there who can't help but be doom and gloom, and I totally reject that. I don't reject being prudent. I don't reject, being thoughtful. I don't reject, good ideas. But doom and gloom, it bothers me.
But Mike, don't you remember? So Carson, I'm sorry, you probably were still in elementary school when this happened. But like Y2K, don't you remember? Like
Yes.
Everybody was like, oh, offices are going to explode and we're not going to be able to do this. And there's going to be, and like our industry was like, this isn't going to, we're not going to get through this. And it was like, nothing ever happened. And then the next thing was like 07, 08 in the building industry. We had a recession. And we made it through that, we made it through COVID. And I think a lot of us came out even better than we were pre-COVID. So I think that if your vibe your tribe attracts your vibe, or vibe attracts your vibe, right? And
Yeah.
and if you're all doom and gloom, then the people around you are going to be the same way. And then I'm sorry, but they're gonna jump ship. So if you have the mentality that, hey, we're moving forward, we're doing this, we're showing our employees that we're not just sitting stagnant in what we do, we're going to continue to grow and get better. Then I think you're always going to have people that are excited about this industry.
God, I'm so happy you're recorded because I'm going to use this clip. So Carson, you agree with Stephanie?
Yes. So I was actually going to say, I love the old conversation starter that someone goes, well, print's dying, right? And I go, is it? Is it really? Is it changing? For sure, people aren't in the office 5 days a week in a lot of places, but that means that you have to just be flexible and shift yourself into what they are using. Shared meeting spaces are through the roof. So do you have the ability to shift into that market? Can you sell displays and cameras, and can you manage all of that, which, Stephanie, I'm sure you guys do. And it's just like, if you're just looking at this industry from, and I'm going to use this term lightly, the 90s perspective of a box is a box is a box, then yeah, print is dying for sure. But if you look at it as an overall grouping of office equipment and just being a solutions provider, the horizon is endless right now. You just have to be willing to go get it.
Well, it's interesting, and Stephanie, I'm glad you brought up Y2K. I completely forgot about that, but I can remember thinking, oh my God, we're going to fall off the face of the earth,
Yeah.
keep listening
Yeah.
to the news. So, it's interesting to me. I'll be 72 years old next week, okay? And I am and I've been in this industry for 44, 45 years. And I am more excited for the young people in this industry. I'm more excited for the industry itself and the adjacent markets. You have to redefine the industry. So meaning what other things can you sell into that are going to bring, added excitement and revenue? And but I'm being very, very sincere. I am more excited about the industry today and looking out 10 years. So for young people, my daughter and everyone else, you folks, I think you're looking at an opportunity that's unprecedented. Now, is it going to be different? Yes.
Yeah.
You have choices to make? Absolutely. But you are the ones that can make those really educated, smart, and tactical decisions, right? So I'm glad to hear you both, being positive. Don't let the naysayers overrun the world. And by the way, Carson, I don't think print is going to go away in any decade. Yes,
No,
road change, but
it can't
no.
go away. I mean, paper will never disappear completely. So that's just slight ignorance on some people's part to say that it's dying or it's going to die. I mean, you need paper.
So,
It's,
I'm sorry, Stephanie, you were going to say?
oh, I was just going to say, I mean, Mike, if you look at it, you've got some pretty powerful people in this industry like yourself and Rick Taylor and Jim DiMedio and Kevin Kern that have all retired, and yet you're coming back to this industry, So there's something to be said for that, right? I mean, there's something about this industry and the continued opportunity that I think brings people back. And I think and if you spin it the right way and you look at it the positive way, I think you guys as mentors coming into people and younger people and having those conversations and talking about like what this future can look like are fantastic opportunities because you're right, Carson. I mean, the horizon's endless. You just got to go grab it. I mean, get out of the business if you think that this is dying because that's just not the case.
I love it. And the reason why Rick Taylor, Jim DiMedio, and myself, I'll speak for myself, we love the industry. And my personal mission, that's why we started the Executive Connection Summit again.
Yeah.
To help float all boats. How can we give back and help all of you, be more successful? And we do that with a lot of humility because you guys ladies and guys, are both far smarter and experienced in areas that we're not. I mean, you're the connected world, right? We grew into the connected world. You grew out of the connected world in large part, which is a different perspective. So eliminating your parents or your siblings from this question, who is or was your greatest mentor? And what are some of the things that they really espouse that you embrace and you would share with other people? So, Stephanie?
Okay. So I also had an uncle that was in the business, and he was partners with my dad. He's since passed. He was very motivational in this respect of basically, kid, you can do anything. Don't let anybody stop you. Just continue working hard, and results will pay off. I would say as I've progressed in my career, probably my biggest mentor at this point is Laura Blackmer. I think that she is absolutely wonderful as the dealer president for Konica Minolta. But in particular, she saw that there's this group of women within our organization that are dealers that aren't being heard potentially, or aren't potentially in spots where like what we say matters. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's just that there's so many powerful men that have been in this business and for years and years and years. And I think that she and the others at Konica Minolta, so Kay Fernandez and Alicia, and there's a bunch of women that are there, and they're making sure that they mentor to young women to continue to show them that, hey, we do care, we do want to hear you, and that you can do this job being a female and do it just as well or better than your counterparts. And so I would say Laura probably, as I progress in my career, has become my biggest mentor.
Well, you know what? That is one hell of a nice thing to say, and I agree with you. She's a great lady, great executive, and if I'm not mistaken, I think she won Executive of the Year just a couple of weeks ago. So a lot of people share your opinion, and she is wonderful. I mean, she's gifted, talented, fun, funny, and a great leader. So she's got my vote too.
Yeah, I will say this, not to toot her horn too much, but she gets in the grind with the dealers. I mean, it's been a tough last couple of years for all of us, and we've had some challenges with supply chain, and Laura is the first one to say, "Get me on a call with your client," and I'm like, "Really?" Yeah, no problem. I want them to hear from the top down that this is where we are. This is why we're in this situation, so that they know that we support you as the dealer. And I just think that's something that really is an awesome thing, because it shows our team that we really do matter for Konica Minolta, and it just shows the type of person that Laura is, that she's in the grind with us as we're going through these challenges. So. And there's other people too. But if you're asking in particular who my mentor right now is, it's Laura, and learning so much from her as we continue to grow in this industry.
Well, it's a great reference, and frankly, anybody that would go that extra mile like that, to contact your client,
yeah,
that's good for her. You're not going to see that very often. So,
No.
Carson, same question.
I'm going to do a little bit of a scapegoat answer. No, it's to be a little bit different, because I've only been in the industry for, a little over 4 years, right? So the first person that really got me, that I first viewed as a mentor, was a guy that we had hired. His name was George Fitzgerald. Great guy, right? He knew so much about the industry. He had been through it with dealers and the manufacturer, so he'd seen it from both sides, and he just had a lot of wisdom that he would share with me, which I really hadn't experienced, other than from, my father or my uncle and aunt who work in the business as well. So to hear it from somebody outside of family, really investing in me growing in the industry, was great. And then it kind of pivoted when he retired. It's people like you, Mike, and Josh Lane from ACDI, and then our territory, the territory integration manager for Sharp. His name's Mark Griffin. He spends countless hours a week with me on the phone, and we're just talking through stuff. And I can just tell that he views our conversation as something other than him answering a question, and he's not afraid to share more information than is required. And if I want a true take on where Sharp's going, or where this product can really be successful, I have no problem calling him up, calling Josh up about paper cut or where ACDI is going. And Mike, everybody, so if I ever have a question, I know I can come to you. And if you don't know the answer, 12 people that know the answer. So it's people like that who are willing to invest. I mean, I don't think, if it weren't for you, Mike, or even the Canadas giving me the honor of being in their influencers under 30, 30 under 30 or whatever. I mean, that really kind of gives you that fire inside where you're like, you know what, I'm in the right industry, I'm doing the right thing, I feel validated, which isn't an important part. It's not why we do the job, but it's nice to know that people notice you and they want you to succeed.
Well, I'm honored to be included in that summary, so I appreciate it. And I don't know everybody, but knowing some people is a good thing. And if I don't know, Jim DiMidio and Rick Taylor are probably know somebody.
See, you know somebody that knows somebody. It's the old Italian network.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, well, you know what? Rick Taylor and Jim DiMedio. So when you talk about people in the industry, Laura Blackmer, current. I mean, she's a current leader, right? But Rick Taylor and Jim DiMedio, they've been mentors to me. So I understand, the significance of having a buddy or some kind of brother or sister that you can depend on. And Stephanie, it's kind of interesting because when we started reinvigorating the Executive Connection Summit, if I could throw a little commercial in there for you. One of the things that I was committed to, and last January was very difficult because people were still really reluctant to get out, and COVID, was still very much on their minds, right? But this year, we started early, and actually January was very successful, smaller but successful. This year we've doubled the size, and the commitment that we made was we want a diversified agenda. We want females, we want males, we want age, age differences. We want different perspectives. So, people my age versus, you two. And, I have to tell you, the agenda has become something very special. We have some of, I think, the finest female executives in the industry, like yourself, Stephanie, you're coming, participating. And I'm looking forward to it because I think this one is going to be awesome because in years past, we either had too old a perspective or too male a perspective. And this year, I'm very, very happy to say we've got a real balanced group of people who are coming, and you guys are coming, and I think that's going to make all the difference in the world, both for the show, but more importantly for the industry going forward. So I thank you both, and for making that commitment to come.
Absolutely.
And now a couple other fun questions.
Oh, hold on, Mike. Hold on. I'm gonna challenge you on that because I think you're selling yourself a little short there. Because I think last year's event was a great size, and I got to say we actually picked up two more vendors for stuff we weren't offering before out of that. So very successful event, and I'm looking forward to it again because one, great group of people, and you've managed to get people who offer stuff into our industry that I probably would have never found these two people if it weren't for you. And it's something we offer to all of our clients. And I just think, if it weren't for that event and for you getting everybody together, we'd probably be in a different market space in some aspects.
Well, I appreciate that. And this year we got Intel, Microsoft. I mean, we got big and small, and it's a think tank, right? It's for it. I tell the people I work with and pulling it all, our team, this is actually your meeting. It's your meeting. It's the only event that's designed for you, right? We don't have trade booths. We're not trying to sell copiers. It's really about networking and education, right? And Carson, if you think we hit the nail on the head, awesome. And we're going to do the very best we can to do it again. So thank you. Now, a couple of other quick things. Stephanie, what advice would you give to a dealer, right, about going into 23? What's your best advice for that dealership? How to be successful?
Man, we're still trying to put that together. I would, oh gosh, Mike.
Easy question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I've learned is that it's not what you did. I mean, we had great numbers, like we had one of our best years yet, and that all starts over, right, in January, and you're no longer the hero, you're the zero starting from day one, right? I think that the challenges that we're facing probably are what other dealers are facing: hiring, work from home type of stuff, how to do a hybrid work environment. Continuing to hire minority sales and service and all those things. I think keeping an open mind, I think continuing to work hard, do the right thing, make sure that from our dealership's perspective, like, hey, we don't always have the answers, but incorporate people that can get us the right answers. Partner with a lot of the other people. Like Carson, you're absolutely right. Like I probably have had 4 meetings with different vendors that I would have never, it would have taken me a long time to find out who these people are. And we have a meeting next week or a couple weeks with TAG, which I think is fantastic. Met them last January. And so I think incorporate other people that do things differently or maybe better than you do, and let them advise you on how to continue to grow your business and maybe do things better. That's hard, Mike. That's a kind of a loaded question because we're still kind of in that process, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I just think it all comes down to working hard and making sure you're doing the right thing.
And how about you, Carson? What's that bit of advice you'd say, you really need to think about this?
Yeah, I would tell everybody the same thing. I'd say dig your heels in, because the next 2 years, I think we're going to see something really crazy in the industry, right? You've got a lot of large dealers who cover a large span that have bought up a lot of these mid-sized dealers. So if you're a mid to small size and you're family owned, now's your chance, right? The Marcos and the Decks, with as great as they are, they can't go say that. They can't go, we're a local business, we've been here for so long, so it's time to really pin your ears back and go get some business. Let them know who you are. Let them know how great you are, because if you're still around, you are great. Don't get too confident, but you are great. And stop looking in the rear view. I know it's really hard. I deal with it all the time, talking to sales reps and service guys, and they'll beat themselves up over a call 6 months ago. And I'm like, guys, I love that passion, right? That means that you care about what you do and you care that you could have done it better, but you got to just keep looking forward, know what you did and how you can do it better, and then go do it. Stop worrying about, we should have gotten into managed IT 6 months ago. Well, do it now. If it's still that fresh on your mind, that means that the opportunity is there for you. So don't be afraid to take that leap and go get it. It's a land grab. So you're going to be as successful as you want to be and as successful as you make yourself in the next couple of years. At least that's what I'm seeing.
I love don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Failure is part of success. Don't be afraid. Be thoughtful.
That's
don't
right.
be afraid.
What did Bob Ross say? There's no failures. There's just happy little accidents.
Yeah. Well, so I got to ask a Sinatra question. So it's actually illegal in some countries not to like Sinatra. I don't know if you know that, but so Stephanie, do you have a favorite Sinatra song?
Well, I would say, New York is obviously like one of the best. But I think the album he did with Lady Gaga was insane.
That was Tony Bennett.
Or Tony Bennett. Sorry, that was Tony. Yes.
Yeah, Tony Bennett.
Sorry.
Well, that's okay too. I'm good with Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
And you are right. That duet album with Lady Gaga was awesome. How about you, Carson?
Who's Frank Sinatra?
Yeah. See, text your dad real quick.
Yeah.
No, actually,
at least make it wrong, Carson.
Yeah. We're gonna edit you right out of this.
That's right. I'm not even going to be in the podcast at all.
Yeah, you're out. You're out.
No, it's "Come Fly with Me." By far my favorite song, mostly because of nostalgic reasons. I think my dad had it on a playlist that he would play when he drove us to school. So I remember that song. It's probably one of like 6 songs I have on my phone from Frank Sinatra. So that's by far the most listened to.
Well, 2 great singers, 2 great songs. I love it.
Mike, you can blame my dad we did not listen to Sinatra growing up. We listened to the Beatles and Van Morrison and unfortunately I did not grow up listening to Frank Sinatra, but you know what? I will absolutely make sure that I get up to par before.
Study a little bit for the old guys like me.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna wind this down. I wanted to say thank you very, very much. It's an honor to have you. This was fun to get to know some younger people, and Carson, we've known each other a while now because of your dad and riding motorcycles across the country. And Stephanie, you'd be interested to know they have a day in May, that they organize every year for charities and the community and the police and so on.
Cool.
And every year we ride our motorcycles. We try to get there at that day and on that day. And your father and your company, your family have been nothing but wonderful to us and the Patriot Pack. So we thank you. And Stephanie, I'm sure you do something similar like that at your company, right?
We do a lot of different cool charity things. No one rides motorcycles, so that is not, we're not motorcycle people, but yes, we do. We do some pretty neat things, especially with the clients we do business with. We try to stay extremely involved in what is important to them and giving back to them.
Well, maybe when you're out here for the summit, we can get a picture of you on my motorcycle. That at least we can get a picture.
I love it. I love it. I will tell you, I haven't been on a motorcycle in probably 30 years because I was like a junior in high school on a friend's motorcycle, and I was at the stoplight, and my dad worked like an hour away from where we lived, and so I was like, there's no way he's going to be home at 3:00, and so I was at the stoplight, and he's across the stoplight, and he literally opens the door and screams at me and says, "Get off that motorcycle and in my car right now."
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lesson that will last for a long time, right?
Yep.
All these
that
years.
just speaks volumes about my dad. So that's why, but I would love to take a picture on your motorcycle. Sounds good.
All right.
Can I put a challenge out to the dealer network here? One thing we've really noticed, and we're pushing for, and obviously the BTA and yourself, is the vet tech program, right? So we've actually partnered with it's a group here called Technology for Vets, so tech for vets, and we're actually working with him on getting laptops and technology over to him, and he's actually funneling us leads for people getting out of the military looking for jobs. And I think that's a market that this dealer network could really be successful in.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a nice way to close out because, we started that vet tech program. Big shout out for BTA. BTA, they manage it. It came to us by Jeremiah Shepard, a service manager for one of the dealerships, Dove. And he was a transitioning, combat veteran. And so he reached out to myself and to Frank Canada and, Bob Goldberg, and we created this vet tech program. And it's free. It's free. It's a BTA-sponsored program. They provide the software to manage it. They provide the resources to help promote it. And, we're continuing to try and build it out and make it a better program. But it's free to the dealers. It's free to anybody who participates. So, yes, Carson, thank you. Stephanie, take a look at it. It's a great way to hire people and help veterans. So I'll close with saying you guys have been awesome, ladies, gentlemen. You've been awesome, and I'm proud of the relationships that we've built across a year or so and more. And I look forward to seeing you at the summit. I look forward to having a great Thanksgiving, and I want you to have a really terrific Thanksgiving. Tell both your dads they're terrific. I'm proud to know them and proud to see them doing such great things. And man, you're a testimony to both your dads and your mothers. You're great young people. So carry the torch forward. Make sure that the business is inspired by you. And again, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. So thank you very, very much. We appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mike. You as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.